1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. Brady and Gaz in for Levac today on the phone right now. On our hotline, Myron Medcalf, ESPN College Basketball Insider. Myron, we go right out to you. Final Four coming up this weekend. Before my partner, who's a diehard Syracuse fan, gets to you, I'll ask the question rationally. Can Syracuse's zone cause North Carolina any problems if they've had a week to prepare for it?
Yeah, I mean, it gave them some issues in the second matchup this year. But is it enough to overwhelm North Carolina? I'm not convinced. And the biggest issue isn't – everyone's talking about the 2-3 zone. To me, it's how will Syracuse score, because that team that somehow unleashed that assault against Virginia in the final 10 minutes, overcame that 16-point deficit, that's not the Syracuse team we've seen offensively all season. I mean, they've been an average offensive team. That was their biggest issue when they came into the tournament, and they lost 5 of 6, I believe. And, if that team shows up, they're not beating North Carolina. So they've got to put together a balanced game, and we really haven't seen that from this team. They were still down by 16 in the second half against Virginia because the offense hadn't shown up before that miraculous finish. So I'm not convinced that they'll be able to find a way to beat a team like North Carolina.
How much, if any, do you think the media is going to cover this matchup of Carolina and Syracuse and twist it into both these schools having scandals, the Fat Mello issue with Syracuse and the academic fraud issues at Carolina?
Yeah, the media might. I mean, we may do that. People are going to write stories about the academic fraud issue. I just don't know what we're going to resolve in Houston, right? I mean, Jim Boeheim served 9 games, missed 9 games. He lost 101 wins, the program did. The North Carolina investigation is ongoing. The NCAA hasn't ruled. It's almost like people think that we're all going to be sitting down at the game on Saturday and we're all going to get these press releases that say, hey, here's the North Carolina penalty, right? Like all of a sudden they're going to break the news in the middle of the game or something like that. Like none of that stuff's going to happen. So I'm not sure what else you can discuss at this point with, one, a closed investigation, and B, an ongoing investigation. So if anyone knows the NCAA, they're not exactly fond of revealing details in those situations. So media guys like me and talking heads will probably talk about it. I don't think fans care at all. I think they just want to see the game, and they're ready for basketball, and basketball will be everyone's emphasis once tip-off happens.
1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. Brady and Gaz in for Levac today on the phone. College Basketball Insider for ESPN. It's Myron Medcalf. Myron, on the other side of the bracket, it's Oklahoma and Villanova. All year long, we talked about Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram and these potential one-and-done players, these freshmen. How ironic is it that it's Buddy Hield and Ryan Arcidiacono on the other side, 2 seniors leading their team to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think seniors elevated their collective stock this year. We were reminded that having a bunch of seniors is a good thing. I mean, Kansas had Perry Ellis. This Villanova team has a lot of veterans. Buddy Hield, as you mentioned, Bryce Johnson on the other side with North Carolina. So experience matters. And I think the thing that became clear this year is, yeah, we've had Anthony Davis. We've had Jahlil Okafor. We've had some really outstanding one-and-done players in the last 5 or 6 years. But most of those guys weren't elite talents. Most of the freshmen were freshmen. And I think that's what we were reminded of this year when the freshmen finally looked like freshmen this year at places like Arizona and Cal, where they were good, but they weren't great. So the seniors are getting a lot of respect this year, and they deserve it.
Is this game, Oklahoma versus Villanova, basically going to come down to if the Wildcats can hold Buddy Hield under 30 points, they win the game, or do you see something else being a huge factor?
Yeah, I think that's where people kind of are mistaken about Oklahoma. Isaiah Cousins can ball. Jordan Woodard can ball. Ryan Spangler is good. Kadeem Lattin is a rim protector. He's tough. So it's not just Buddy. I mean, they got a really strong group, and 4 of those guys will be making their 100th and, I believe, 4th consecutive start on Saturday together. So these guys have played together forever. That's a factor, and it's bigger than Hield because Hield has done a good job of really finding his teammates when teams bring pressure. The funny thing is, it's like people pretend like, Buddy getting doubled or trapped is going to be something new on Saturday. It's not. This is what he faces every night. And every night his teammates help him out, and they've managed to win a lot of games. But Villanova will obviously, it starts with Buddy and kind of what they do with him, but they're going to have to guard all 5 guys on the floor. And then on the other end, it's will Oklahoma's defense stand up against that Villanova attack? Kadeem Lattin is kind of their only true rim protector. If he gets into early foul trouble against a team like that, Oklahoma could be in a lot of trouble. So it's really about what Oklahoma will do on both ends of the floor.
Myron, what did you make of the tournament as a whole leading up to the Final Four? What did you make of all the upsets and the Arkansas Little Rocks and the Stephen F. Austins? How did your bracket look? Because mine was done by about 3 o'clock on the first Friday.
My bracket is always done. My bracket is done on Selection Sunday because they usually make just like a lot of bad picks. I mean, nothing survived. And I have one Final Four team, and that's Oklahoma. I had West Virginia. I had Michigan State. I had Kansas, and I had Oklahoma. So, it didn't work out so well. But I love the chaos. I love the upsets. I love Northern Iowa going from the hero one night and beating Texas on the buzzer beater, and the next night blowing a 12-point lead in the last 44 seconds. So I just like the way it's going down. Even Syracuse, watching that Virginia collapse, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but that's March. That's the NCAA tournament. So I think it's been a great tournament so far. It'd be an even better tournament if we get 3 really good games between Saturday and Monday night.
And, of course, the end of the tournament, we see the images in one shining moment. And on your Twitter account, at Medcalf by ESPN, you have an interesting theory of who may be the new singer singing One Shining Moment this year. Who did you suggest it might be?
Queen Bee makes a lot of sense. Beyonce makes a lot of sense. Beyonce is releasing a new album soon, right? We all know that. And in the Beehive, we talk about that. She's from Houston. That's her hometown, right? And to me, if you are going to bump Luther, big Luther Vandross, who is one of the greatest vocalists of all time, you better bring, you can't bring Shakira or somebody, right? You got to have somebody who has, a great reputation, that when you produce this, when you unveil this, they're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. We understand why this person has replaced Luther. But to me, Beyonce makes a lot of sense. There's an album coming. It's her hometown. I'm banking on Beyonce. The problem is, if she actually comes out and performs it, I'm going to lose my press pass because I'm cheering. I'm going out and I'm cheering. I'm going to be too excited to really contain myself on press row.
Myron Medcalf with us, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. Myron, we know your time is valuable this time of year. We'll get you out of here on this. How do you see it shaking out this weekend in Houston? Who's going to be cutting down the nets?
North Carolina. Even though I made a bold prediction that they would lose before the Sweet 16, shows you how smart I am. But right now they're dominant. They're impossible to stop in the paint. Like, there's no team that's set up in this field to really do anything about them on the interior, and there's no team that I think can really score over the top of that front court on the other end. So I think North Carolina will beat Syracuse, and they could win the national title game by, maybe 7 or 8 points or more. They've just been a really dominant force.
Myron, we appreciate the time. Myron Medcalf of ESPN College Basketball Insider. Hey, enjoy the games this weekend. We know we will.
Thank you.